Hello everybody, ready to mill finally the top of this. And I originally was wanting to use this mill head and I wasn't sure if I'd need to replace these inserts, which as it turns out, I did. I got this off eBay. I paid a couple $100 for it and it's a really nice mill head. It's made in Germany and I mean just everything about it's really nice. But the inserts are proprietary and they don't make them anymore, which makes this a big paperweight. So I got this, it's a Kennametal. It's not a 4-inch, it's a 3-inch. I'm not made of money, so I had to compromise, but that's okay. We can, take a couple passes and get that flattened out. So it's got normal cutters that are standard and they can be replaced. They're not proprietary. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get this thing milled out and ready to drill. I got to drill some holes in it and then I can flip it and do the other side. I'm going light because this thing is twisted. It's got a twist in it. I don't want to break the tool. So the first few passes will be pretty light, then we'll dig in a little deeper on it. So you can see by how this is cutting the warp in the plate. It's warped up on this end more than it is on this end, and just letting it cool off. Since I don't have any coolant going, I don't want to keep doing pass after pass and get this thing really hot. So there it is, it's all done. I have just enough clearance here for the pump, and you can see it's thinner over here than it is over here, but that's okay. I had to get this flat, so the pump will mount up into there and sit flat. This side, I don't really need to worry about it, and I don't want to take anything off of here. I don't want to thin this out any more than I have to. So the next job is to do a pass on this and make that nice and flat. Once that's done, then we'll start mapping out exactly where the pump is going to sit on here, get our hole bored for this, and get our mounting locations laid out. So still a little bit of work to do on that, but we're getting there. Alright, so I got this set up to do this face now, and what I've done is I've got this up against the machine face. And I don't know if I can get the parting line in there or not. Okay, there you can see where I machined. So I'm up against that machine face, so this will be square relative to this face, and this is square relative to this face that I did. And I'm going to come at it on this side so that the material is pushed that way. You can see I've got my machinist jacks supporting this, and my 1, 2, 3 blocks supporting those.
And then hopefully this won't be much of an issue. But again, I think I got the wrong inserts, so there's nothing I can do about that. It's going to take a while to get new inserts for this. So I'm just going to have to go light passes on this as usual. And then that'll be all there is of that, the facing, and then I'm going to be setting up to do the boring operation through here. So I needed a flat as surface as possible so that I get these dimensions right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the top of this onto here and find its center, and then scribe the top. Then I will measure the thickness of this, and then I will half that thickness, and then put the scribe on there, and then I'll have my cross mark where I need to drill. And then I will go ahead and bore that hole, and then while this is still fitted in the machine, I can go ahead and figure out where my drill holes are going to go. So I'm not going to worry about the drill holes right now. The boring operation to me is the most important. Another thing I noticed on this flat, you can see it's sticking. Sticking is good. That means I got that bottom really flat. So I'm really happy with that. And I did as best I could to kind of get an idea of how straight this was, and it's not perfect, but it's close enough, I think. I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. It's a lot more better than what we got going on here. You know, you can see there's quite a bit. So I attribute some of that to the fact that even with the support jacks under here, this was still flexing a little bit. And plus, you know, it's heating up and cooling off, but I don't think that much. I mean, we're talking like maybe a thousandth, if that. I mean, it's pretty dang close. So I think that's good enough. And I also went through the trouble of deburring the bottom of this plate. I chamfered all the holes. I took a file and filed all the rough stuff off because I don't want to put any nicks or holes in my surface plate here. So that's what I'm working on right now, and then we will, once we have that marked out, then we will go ahead and get that mounted up and start the drilling and milling process. So getting the center of this is kind of tricky because these are unfinished. The center, I can go either way, but you can see I did it from this side, I did it from this side, so I'll just go between the two, and that's good enough. And then this line here is the top of this, and then I measured the overall thickness of this, and then I divided that in half, and that gives me where I'm going to drill. So we'll go ahead and get that mounted up and start getting the press set up, or the milling machine set up. So this will dry my pilot, and then I'm going to use this to start the boring hole. So I measured the thickness, and that other the carbide bit, which I'm sure would have sliced through this a lot better, would not have cleared. So rather than mess that up, I had to go with this, which I'm kind of worried about, but we'll see. That's what we got. Yeah, fine. Somebody. I got the belt on the pulleys just a little loose. I'd rather have the belt slip than screw something up in here. So yeah, that did okay. Ready for the boring. See how this goes. Hopefully okay. Not bad. So far, so good. So we got quite a bit to take off. And I don't want to push that bit. So we're going to be here a while. Yeah, it's doing really good. I'm surprised. Figured there'd be a ton of problems. Just a little bit of birds nesting. Going out of there. Goody good. That's nice and cool. Tool's cool. Perfect. A good cutting tool is cool. This is a Chinesium boring head. It was only 60 bucks on eBay. I normally don't like buying Chinese stuff, but I was in a bind because I was way behind and I was willing to make a deal. So there it is. I do plan on getting a better one, a more quality one. I just don't have $700 to throw at one of these right now. All right, that's what I want to hear. Super happy with this scrappy. So we are getting really close. So I'm just doing really super light passes now. So I got my measurement. Now is the moment of truth. I need that to fit in there perfectly. Oh, oh yeah. It is spot on. Actually, the pump is going to sit like that. That is great. Of course, there's no movement. Now, there is some movement, but because this is not even the surface, it's going to be mounted. This pump is going to be mounted over on this end. That's just great. Yeah. So next we will be drilling the holes. All right, final hole. I had to buy a whole new bit. It's 11/32. It's my last hole. I turned down the RPM on the milling machine. So one of the things I messed up on was that I put the mating holes with the pump on this side when it's going to be mounted on this side. But as it turns out, it all fits. This is the size of the bolt I'm going to use. I don't have the right bolts. I'll have them tomorrow. But that's how that will look. And so yeah, it still matches up just fine. There's a little bit of clearance here, and so that little mistake isn't costing me anything. So that's it. This is completely done now. Thank God. All right, we're gonna mount this up. Let's see what we get. Just work. Just had to be able to have enough to bite into and not run up against the pump. Looks like that's where I'm at. I'm going to lightly snug this. I'm going to torque these so that they're all even. I'm not going to do it on camera though. There it is, bolted up. Now again, this surface doesn't matter, but this surface does. So this kind of movement doesn't matter because it's snug in that hole. Again, like I said, I got these bolt holes wrong because I had lined them up from this side, which was wrong. I should have done it this side, but I didn't. So it's fine. Doesn't matter if it's like that. If it's like that, what matters is how straight the shafts are. Right. Yeah. That was pretty good. So what I might have to do is I might have to recess these bolts in to this a little bit so I can slide this on a little farther. But it's not bad. I am tightened down on the shaft. I've got a second one there, but I think I'd feel better if I could push that back farther. So I think that's what I'll do is I'll just get this back on the milling machine, recess the size of the washers there, probably go in about maybe a quarter or third of the way, and that'll give me a little more room to slide that back on there. So simple problem, easy fix. But otherwise, I mean, this turned out great. I mean, I got the alignment spot on. I mean, I couldn't get much better. You know, and there's a bit of play because of this. So, you know, there's some wiggle room in that, but for the most part, I think I think mission accomplished, eh? All right, so interesting thing. I slowed down the feed rate on that, and it's cutting this way, way better than before, and it's not even getting hot. I mean, it's already cold now. So, wow, big improvement. But in any case, you can see right here just how warped this is. I've already taken off close to 50 thousandths. I mean, that's a pretty good lip right there. You can see, and I still got more to take off. So I want to go until that's gone, and then once this is nice and machined, it's got a good feel there too. But once this is done, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to plunge each one of these just a little bit, not very much. Probably just enough to sink the washer, maybe a little deeper than the washer, and then that's it. And on these, I'm going to have to indicate these because I'm going to have to get this perfectly centered over this hole. I can't have these off because then I won't be able to put my bolts through. So I will, when I get to that point, and I get it all set up, I'll show you what I'm going to do to indicate the center for this. And then I'm going to have the depth stop set so I can only go so far. And so each plunge will be the same. And then this should fix that clearance problem with the coupler. So what I'm going to do here, we remove some material off here. That equals a little bit. I'm going to pocket down a little bit, and then I'm going to remove a little bit off these bolt heads. And hopefully between the sum of all those three, I'll get enough clearance to get that coupler to fit properly. Yeah. Okay, so in this Kool-Aid scenario, this is a pain in the butt, and rather than waste the time trying to go through two different axes trying to center this, I've already centered it. I've got the machine set to 80 RPM, which is the lowest RPM. And so that's, I think, about as close as I can get. So that's about centered for that hole. So this is the best way to, most accurate way to center it. So now I can come in with my with my mill, plunge it to the depth that I'm going, and then move on to the next hole. Very time consuming, and but the results are extremely accurate. So I've got my depth. Sit right there. And where have we seen these before? I'm gonna lock that down. All right, so we're going to find our technical zero. Now I got a DRO, but it's only on 2 axes. I don't have the Z axis on here, so we'll have to use the rock, paper, scissors trick. Figure out where my zero is. Should actually cut into the paper. There we go. That's our zero. So now I'm ready to do the actual cut. Perfect! Perfect! It worked! So I'm not gonna waste time doing all the other ones and filming it. You basically seen what I just did. So with my depth of stop, all the pockets will be that deep. I have to center all of them just like that. It'll take me forever. And then you see how much clearance I've gained. Just give you an idea here. That's our unmilled head. This is our milled head. And then that's with our pocket. It's a considerable difference. So that should give me the clearance that I need for that coupler. I think that's really good right there. And as you can see, I also chamfered the edges while you weren't looking. It's okay. Got a ton of work to do. Well, there it is. I had to delete the washers because it was still sticking out too much. The issue being that, unlike Baldur, who made a very long keyway, they just made a little tiny ass keyway, and then they put it way back on the shaft, and of course they put the, whichever one you want to, well, this one, you know, right in the middle. I mean, the whole thing, they should have had a long keyway like the Baldur motor. So I have enough now. I did a little blue check. It's hitting in a good spot. I put a little Loctite in there, and I think this will be fine without the washers. So it's pretty flush. You can see that. I don't want to take any more off. I don't want to go deeper with the pockets. You know, I need the heft of this bracket. And then the bolts down here, I had to cut down a little bit. so that they would fit because they were just a little too long. That's pretty much it. And this is all done. So in the end, I had to machine that anyway, and learned a little lesson. I had the RPM too high, so I turned the RPM down after talking to somebody that previously owned a machine shop, and it cut this perfect. It didn't get hot. As soon as the blade was moving along, I could touch this and it was barely warm. So my bad. But you know, like I said, I'm not a machinist, I'm a mechanic. So we're gonna get that coupler on there. Bada bing, bada bang. There it is. Nice and super perfect. That part's done. Next part, what these are going to mount on. That was a lot of work.